I invite Mr. Sudeendra Koushik. He is the director of HCL Technologies, and he is very specifically focused on the area of innovation in consumer electronics.
Good afternoon. Thanks, Srinivas and Sabaria, for this opportunity to be with you and share some of the thoughts that I have. We are looking at consumer electronics as one of the affected areas, so to say, because of big data. A special word about consumer electronics is I have been in this field for close to 20 years. Yeah, about 20 years now. And consumer electronics of the last, let's say, 16 years is nothing same as what it is now going on. At the same time, it is a lot of commoditized technology, though there is practically every technology in a television, let's say. There is so much technology inside a TV, but it is commoditized so much that people look at it as a very simple piece of thing. And that's a great thing for me as a technologist, because that is the biggest challenge I feel for technologists, to make things simple for people. Whatever the technology is, so what kind of thing should come into play. So when we look at big data and stuff like that, the nice definition that I come across is whatever the data that we cannot handle in the traditional means that we have been used to, you can call it as big data because it's too big to handle nowadays. And if you just look at some of the data points that are available to us, you can see that the last 2 years has generated so much of data, that's practically everything. And also looking at the future, the famous estimate of what the video will be in the coming years will be the biggest data as well. Now, it comes in all shapes and forms, structured, unstructured, semi-structured, and so on. But I think the challenge is to manage that frontier, to overcome that. And when you look at what these consumer challenges are faced, typically today's consumer, so to say, use things indoor and outdoor, specifically looking at things in the indoor of a typical affluent CE user. You will see things like a television or a Wi-Fi and internet connected dishwasher, washing machine, refrigerator, which can ping you when you're in the superstore that your yogurt is empty, so pick that as well, kind of thing. Of course, tablets and mobile phones, desktop PCs, and also IP surveillance, which allows people to see anything, anywhere, literally. As long as you can connect to something called internet, you can see and control your cameras outside. So this allows a consumer to do basically his own personal stuff, let's say, and he can also do his transactional stuff, more so like the kind of shopping or that kind of stuff. But he can also do social stuff, which is the in thing today, and also, whatever he calls his own personal sphere of life. When it goes outside, again, I just picked up 1 or 2 examples of in-flight entertainment and a car. This is a Ford car, which typically is coming up with a kind of concept where you can have an open platform. What you can visualize, it has onboard cameras, it has a central entertainment system, and of course there are people sitting in the middle and the back row. And you can imagine today's journeys, typically with the family, they are all doing different things. The kids want to do different than the others. So there is a certain level of disparity in what is going on in this small piece of area. At the same time, there is options for people to share. Suppose there is something that you want to share between these 2 devices, any 2 devices for that matter. And all these allows a lot of options and hence data as well. If you look at what kind of things to be created by having certain things, by the virtue of having a device, this is an interesting one. On the right hand side, this is a basic unit. So the basic phone, and these are the multipliers, and each of these devices carry a number. The multiplier that is bringing in effect of each of these devices by the virtue of using that creates so much of amount of data. I mean, just to give you a perspective, 7 terabytes per day or 10 even, it's a whole lot of data. We will see that in a minute what it means. For those of you who are as weak as me in maths, just a quick recap. Just count the number of zeros as you go down. It is 1,000 times the previous one, 1,000 times the previous one. So when you are looking at exabytes, you are talking about highly unimaginable number, perhaps like a DNA for as far as data is concerned. what we are going to create, or we have created this much, the blue ones already, and these are all in a huge number of petabytes per month. Now this is going to go up and explode virtually into these numbers. I think it's beyond comprehension of many people how to visualize this kind of data. Be it video calling, even it looks small compared to these huge towers, but that itself is a huge amount of data. And this is all very simple things. The list actually goes beyond. But these are the top 3-4 things that make a lot of data that we create. Purely consumer electronic devices that we saw earlier, tablet, phones, TV kind of stuff. If you look at number of hours, and I'll help you read this because this is in billions. The amount of hours that we need, that we are spending on this kind of stuff are in billions of hours, and it's only going up. And as far as we are seeing now, it's already in 30 plus billion hours per month. And if you see, there are things that are big. There are things that are not yet fully wide in the graph. That means there's a lot of things that are going to happen there, especially the search and navigation, context-based services coming up. It's going to only grow further and further and push up the whole envelope of this traffic. One example of why consumer electronics is different than what we were before is if you look at generally what is happening in the TV industry, people say there is a lot of debate going on. We are used to traditional linear TV. That means you pay for a cable or a satellite and set-top box and you have a TV. And there are certain services and channels that you enjoy. Now there are people, as we speak, a whole lot of people, it may not be comparable in 10 to 20% of people, but the trend is very, very significant and consistent. People who are letting go of TV and they are happy with what they see on their laptops, their computers and tablets. And they have a reason, and these are some of the reasons they say, that I find things in the internet which suits me better than what I get on TV. I mean, it's a fair statement because the people who use TV 25 years ago and the people who use TV 10 years later will be very different. And they will have totally different expectations as well. So if you have to cater to those kind of people, then you have to look at things like what are these audience trying to see? And do they see things as what they're seeing now in a better way? Can it enhance their QoS or QoE? And all these things, or the value that he sees in a certain program, the time shift recording is one of the things that we all know. But how much of value is it really bringing to a user, and how can you help him do what he wants to do when he wants to do? So what are his needs, his habits? What does he do? Does he do multitasking when he's watching TV? What else does he do? You need all this information, and you have to process that information to make sense of it. And if you look at what this means, the way we see it is on that side of the screen you see what we call the needs of an average user. He has certain things that he has to do because he has no choice. Certain basic things we can call it in the Maslow theory as well, right? A relatively comparative term. On the right side you have things that we call it as wants. And now you can start to see the difference that many of us do not care to see the difference. That's fine as a user. But we as technologists should see the difference because there are different ways to handle these two needs and wants of a user, which are the enablers that sit in between the two. The black line actually shows from whatever we have studied and checked, and our research finds that the wants are sort of going up, especially if you visualize an affluent society. A typical want could be, while I'm watching TV, I want to do this on my tablet, or I want to just check this on. So there is nothing that you need to do, but you really want to do that. And that you have every right to do that, and you are equipped with 6 to 8 devices per user is the new average for a good upper middle class person to own 6 to 8 devices in the house is a new average. And when that happens, this graph will become extremely important for the people in this room to understand. When he does that, he will want to do, with the 6 to 8 devices, he will want to do a kind of content search. Now we know, just in the last 3 hours, how many pictures have been clicked in the 2 rooms that we have been today. And how many of that are similar. Maybe they are not the same, like the example we heard from Ramesh, but they are very similar. So there is a lot of data duplicity. And in that huge mountain of content, people are trying to search. Now, again, if you go back and map his needs and wants, we don't know exactly what he needs to find in the file of mountain of photos and pictures and music, and we don't know what he wants to find out. Now, who has to help him? Again, if you see it as a commodity for a user, we have to help him distinguish that and find the appropriate one for him. The same with the store and retrieval. We heard the amount of data we generate and what is the need. Actually, the forecast that we will see is also that we are generating few times more data than our capacity of storage as well. So we already see a gap which we are creating ourselves. Like the 64th square of rice which we can have, but we don't have it yet, kind of thing. And we have this personal and social media, it is all encompassing. We've already got into the way of living with that, so there is no way we can get back on that. Secure and easy are practically contradictory terms today, because security means typically a lot of things you have to do to secure, but it should be easy for the user. So I have been part of this NFC experiment with the phone. It is quite handy, but I still have somewhere in the back of my mind, if I lose my mobile, am I okay, kind of thing. So that still will be nagging, that we will have to deal with. Now, if you look at the opportunities, what these kind of things bring to address these kind of issues is, we need to know about the consumers. We need to know about the consumption. The consumers, we have to know all the usual things that we do. But I will try to highlight some things that we are seeing that is emerging now. A use case. Somebody is watching a TV in a living room and somebody has a tablet or a mobile phone in his hand. It has been found that close to 40% of those people are doing something on their tablet. Something. Today there is no exact way to measure that, but there is very clear indication that people are multitasking even when they are watching TV. Now the question is, can you find out what he's doing, number one? That is on the left side of the screen. And what is he using in that screen? And can you supply him that? Typical example would be for my Indian friends here, if you are watching a cricket match, can you give him what happened in the last World Cup or last tournament or last news about that particular cricketer? Could be anything. If you are doing a cookery show, can you show what was shown last week, or what is a similar dish that was prepared in the sequence of the program and so on. So to understand this, you need ways, and when you have the ways, you will have this data, piles of data. Then again, you have to deal with kind of information. But please remember, these consumer devices are most, let's say, resource crunch devices. They are starved of resources. Though the memories are in GBs now, they are the most challenging for engineers because they have the most number of constraints as well in terms of memory usage and application. So you have to do all this before you can even deliver a certain result to the user. And what kind of decisions can the user take is one of the results that you can deliver. You have a certain amount. This decision, by the way, can be for the operator, the content provider, or the user as well. The content provider in the new situation will think, now what kind of programming should I deliver to this part of Bangalore, or in that part of Bangalore to this community? And can you do that? Can you even know what they are expecting? Can you create a kind of polling programming wherein an area votes for a certain list of programs and you pick the biggest one that was voted for and then put that as the program number one for the day? Can you allow that? But that means a lot of processing and collection of data as well. You can think about the other way. What does the user want to do? How does it decide upon doing something or not doing something? How does you use this information for advertising? Is there only one way of advertising where you can push your advertisements? Can you think of, if he is watching cricket and if he is looking at merchandise clothing, can you suggest him sportswear advertisement? Is that something you can correlate? Can you even know that the same user who is registered for my DTH is also looking at a content from a certain star programming website, and I can monetize my content from star website as well? Maybe he missed the first part of the show. Maybe he wants to look at what is coming up in terms of schedule. So there is an innumerable number of things that we can create, but if you have the data and the means to collect the data. So if you look at really in the bottom of the slide where you see content is what the user is interested in, he wants good content, and the operator is interested in how can he monetize the content, what can he do to deliver the content that people value, so that they pay for that content. And of course the devices should allow either of these two or both of these. And of course it all means simply that more and more data. One way we have conceived this thing is, I'll help you with this graph. The bottom part is the effort that a user has to put in to get a work done. Let's say a simple machine. That is the ideal way. I put in a little amount of effort, I get a lot of things done. In this case, I put a little amount of effort, I get a lot of things back. So on the left axis there, you will see the perceived value of that work that you get back by the user. and the right side the cost of ownership. So what does it mean? One of the typical examples we see in an Indian environment is paid apps are less popular. Whatever reason, good, bad, ugly, they are less popular. People take a longer time to decide or even pay for services like apps. If you look at this way, I'll take an example of a dishwasher. In an Indian context, I don't know how many of you use dishwasher here, that typical dishwasher needs certain amount of preparation. You need to remove some of the solids from the thing, remove the soils of the vessels, and then keep them in the dishwasher, and then you can get it done. So there is an amount of work. Compare it with a vacuum cleaner. Just plug, of course, if you have the paper bag, you are good to go. If you take a weather channel, for example, the amount of work that you had to put in the past is switch on your computer, or if it's already switched on, go to a particular site and check. Now you have a television app which is on the screen. You click on that, it will show you the weather conditions at that point of time live. So the TV apps is one of the things that can help lower the threshold. Hardly any cost of ownership, because these things can be very handy for the user. But at the same time, the value addition for the user is high. That is when he sees the value to do certain things. Now the point is, who has to take care of this complexity? Because this is quite complex stuff. If you have to put all these things, disparate things together, somebody has to take their hand up and say, now, we will mask the complexity for you. We will shift you out of the complex zone to the simple zone, and we will abstract it so that you can get the benefit. And those are the things that will succeed to make a user very comfortable with what he will experience. The store and search, like I said, and the graph here shows what I said earlier, the gap between what we create and what the capacity we have to store is extremely widening, and it's already showing signs of strain. How do I get what I need? How do I know what I want even? Or how can I even look for things that I am not too sure what I'm looking at? So how can you help him at all levels, metadata level, cognitive level, or a behavior layer, or a combination of these things? That will help him to know what he wants, because this is kind of flux where users are also not sure what they want. So you need to help them with educating them, this is all you can do, and this is what you can use the data for. And that means for us insight. First we should have the insight, read data again. And retrieve and recommend is the other side of the insight. You know, okay, now this feels right to me, this is what I was looking for. I was not sure, but when I get this recommendation list, this program list, I think it's okay, this is what I think I need. So this research of BBC on mood-based stamping. So there's a huge repository of video content in the BBC library. So they're trying to see if they can put a stamp on each of those video content saying energetic, laughter, or what kind of thing that they can create a stamp for. And the next step would be to catch the mode of the user and you start to map. So again, a lot of things can be done, but it needs a lot of data as well. But the user has to feel that, yeah, this is what I was looking for, kind of thing. Looking ahead, about to end the presentation, looking ahead, if you see, the number of internet-enabled devices is just growing and growing and growing. In fact, as you can see, the PCs are overtaken, which is not a surprise to many of us. But what that means is whatever we discussed the last 10-15 minutes, it's going to only become more and more. Remember I said about 6 to 8 devices per user, not per family. Per user of a normal nuclear family is what we are talking about. And that will only make this data explosion very true and very real and very realistic and very short-term problem. Which means that, to conclude, the users want every time everything that they can think of and everywhere. Look at the car example, or checking on a satellite internet connection on a plane. You want to check, hey, did I close my garage door or not? You can do that. You can do that still. And that means they want to be always on. Like my G-Talk is always on even when I forget to switch it off at night. And somebody pings in, you say, you there, kind of thing. So they always want to be on, whether it is useful or not. They always want the content, and they want it whether it's indoor, outdoor, and more importantly, and very challenging for us, is on multiple devices. So we need to know who is having what device, the same person, and how many devices they are operating, and what is he doing with that. Will definitely help us make sure that we create solutions that are good for the user, and also which makes interesting that this whole business models that we talked about earlier as well will start to evolve, which means good business and good lifestyle for everybody. Thank you.
Any questions? privacy. So you're collecting a lot of data. It's consumer electronics.
Yes. In fact, that is one of the major areas that we are looking at. The reason is simple, like you rightly said, one of the ways we do is, if you are having nowadays connected TV is like more than 50% penetration rate. That means every second flat TV is a connected TV which can be connected to the internet. When you do that, one way is to have, if the user allows privacy to be, let's say, if it's comfortable, we can fix up a camera using which you can monitor more things that the normal communication or interaction will not allow you to do. But there are ways to do that. One is just to know what this user is watching, so that just the program level or a content level. That is typically, you can have a rider with the user saying, are you okay? And then you can start. But this is a more explicit way of collecting data. You can say there are 4 people in the house watching this program. In the other case, you can say this program is being watched, but you don't know how many people are really watching that. With the gesture and face recognition, you can do more than that. But at this point of time, we are aware of that problem that you just mentioned, because it can be very sensitive, and perhaps I have an opinion which is different from yours when it comes to privacy. But the point is that person should be okay to share that information. Only then it will be done.
Real-time analysis on big data, is it going to be the next big challenge? Because when I want to buy something right now, I want the cheapest, suppose I want to buy a smartphone. I want to know the location where it has the maximum discount, but with the original smartphone.
And when you say original, it means
good product. I mean, yeah, same product, with the maximum discount, and the location near to me, near to my place. So is it real-time analysis of the big data?
Yes. So there are some applications which more or less do what you just said. One way we are looking at that is from a cloud-based situation, wherein, like from the advertising angle, like I mentioned, one of the concepts we have is, suppose you want to buy a smartphone, like you said. When you launch that advertising engine and look for smartphones, there can be a business model where all the smartphone makers and the operator have a deal with me to place ads there. The location, the price, and everything, which they can control real time. And my service app can pick those real time ads for the smartphone. And when you ask for one, I offer them as an operator 100% hit rate. Meaning, I am giving your ads to exactly a person who is on the threshold of buying. So he is the right person for you to put your ad, not anybody and everybody. In return, you get the best listing of the prices and locations. But this means a new way of doing business, which we call pull ads. It's not a push ad. The user pulls for an ad. The same thing can go for a car as well. I want to buy a car, and then I want to just have a look before I really go into the car showroom and start opening the door and seeing what is everywhere. But that needs a lot of analytics for sure. Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks.